We're back. Part 2 has just been dusted after another successful weekend. For context, for people that don't remember my dusty face, I'm Bradley Martinez, and beside me is my illustrious guest and superstar. You want to give us an intro, just in case people forgot who you are after the weekend?
Thank you, Bradley. I'm Lorenzo, also known as Lorenzo.OG. Yeah, we're here, we're back. Thank you for all the work. This is the man behind all the managing side of things in terms of the drops. And yeah, it was a great success, but couldn't have done it without the help of Bradley, Jeffrey, the whole Jason Markk team, Fola, all my people on my side, Lauren, Chris, Huss, Mahi, a lot of people to name. And then we got, the content team on lock as well. Michael, Dom, Lauren again. There's a lot of people behind all these drops. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have the support from all of you guys.
Right, you do it all without an agency, which I think people don't really take into account. I think a lot of these things, aside from that, from other partners that you see from other projects that people do, is got a massive powerhouse behind it, and you do it with such a small team and create such a massive output. It's inherently impressive what you're able to achieve as an independent artist with no backing behind you other than friends and family. It's a testament. But to go straight into question time, obviously we're pretty much a year since Air in Colour. I think it's like a week.
52 weeks?
52 weeks. Yeah, mad. Actually doesn't feel like that long ago. But in terms of reflection, Air in Colour, let's talk a little bit about that. What was that like as a moment for you as a creative, and how has that impacted your decision making coming into Balance in Colour?
Yeah, Air in Colour was sort of like a peak, sort of like a climax moment in my career as Lorenzo.OG, doing what I do within colour design. I felt like pre-Air in Colour, I always needed like a real life moment to connect with the community and release a shoe. Release a shoe in real life that people can actually purchase, no raffle, no free giveaway. They can actually spend money on it, buy a physical piece of my work for an affordable retail price, which, as you know, when making hand-dyed bespoke work and make a living and survive, you can't compete with your typical retail prices that we see when you go into a footwear retailer that have been mass produced. So to have a shoe release in my city of London I felt like I needed that to kind of have a proof of the added value and the I guess the demand for my work, and I was always waiting for the right opportunity to come, the right partner to back me with a release, and it got to the point where I couldn't wait any longer, and I had to just make it happen myself with a forced collab. That I like to that's how I like to view it.
So obviously, from I think a lot of outsiders' perspectives, you have a pretty wide following globally, right? And obviously it's hard to try and gauge how engaged the community is in real life in comparison to like what you get in terms of engagement on social media. But before we get into Balance in Colour, when you was leading up to Air in Colour, or the initial sort of idea of wanting to do a physical event, when did you realise that you had like a physical community that would show up for something like that? Was there a telltale moment? Obviously, a lot of the work that you've done has been high-profile projects, right? Going to a lot of high-profile people, lots of friends and family, bits and bobs here and there. aside from a lot of the storytelling with Virgil and things like that, when did you realize there was an actual demand to be able to do something physical retail that then made you pursue an event like Air in Colour and, you know, the one that we're at today, Balance in Colour?
Yeah, that's a good moment. I think, to be fair, I think ever since I've been selling bespoke one-of-ones since 2021, I knew if I did a real life event, people would show up to buy it, because I knew, just like, even just looking at it from an economic perspective, like the demand will always outweigh the supply of my work when it's hand dyed. Whenever I would do drops on my website, even when I was charging upwards of $1,000 for a pair of shoes, they would sell out instantly. But on a global scale, obviously, that's very different to something more localized. And despite knowing that, there's always in the back of my mind leading up to any release like this, so leading up to Air in Colour, there is always that fear, and like the pressure as well, like what if there's another bigger drop that day, or what if the people aren't feeling this release. But deep down, like, I know that this is something that if it wasn't me putting these out and these shoes were coming out, I would be there buying it.
Yeah.
So when I know that, and all the work I put out, I put it out knowing that I would want to buy this. I'm always confident in the fact that people will want to buy this, and ultimately, a lot more people want to buy this than there is the supply for it. So yeah, I'd say, like, I've always known, but there is still that doubt that creeps in.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it basically requires a lot of self-belief in it, a lot of backing yourself to be like, right, you know what, I know this is right, I know this will work, and just, well, trusting in the process more than anything to go to this, to get to this point. And then obviously last year you made it a moment for a shoe that's synonymous to the UK. You know, following a year on, we've now changed that direction, gone with the New Balance 860 V2. What was why the 860 V2? Was it a trend thing? Obviously Y2K mesh runners are like a big popular thing. Did you go for it down like a trend analysis kind of path, or you was like, right, let's think logical, this is what's working, rather than doing something that's synonymous to your city? Or were there like other points leading up to that made you go like, actually, this is the right shoe for me to go next?
Yeah, so it's not, so how I plan what I release is not quite as pre-planned or thought out as thinking this shoe is on trend. It was more the fact that for the past 2-3 years, my personal style has shifted a lot towards New Balance in general. And I started wearing 860 V2s myself. I really enjoyed the comfort, really enjoyed the wearability, how easy it is to wear. And honestly, one day, like I've been wearing this exact base shoe. I was wearing them probably for about 6 months, and one day I just decided to dye a pair. Yeah. And the effectiveness of how they dyed versus how long it normally takes to dye a pair of shoes was like huge. Like the effects, they were really effective. But because of how the shoe is, and if you like, I'll take the shoe off. Because of how the shoe is, and like you have all this white space encased around the metallic silver and the black sock liner, there's a lot of free space, and there's like it's relatively like, I guess, user-friendly for me to do this on scale as well. Whereas like with a lot of other pairs, it's like much more, I've got to be much more meticulous. And so when I first dyed this pair, posted on my story, the reception was immediately really strong. And from there, I was just like, the idea was like, I should try and release these.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's been a long process to actually make it happen. And it was definitely harder than I initially thought, to do 150 pairs. But yeah, like it really just comes down to, I really like the shoe and I felt like I could add value to the shoe. And that's really all it comes down to.
So when you were initially dyeing the shoe, right, what was the sort of starting sample? Like what colorway was the first colorway? Did you go straight into Dusk, or did you just try a bunch of other stuff to see essentially what worked before you came to the decision to what released?
So that's a great question, because the first sample was how the release pair ended up being. But the reason why the release pair is like a asymmetrical reverse colorway is because when I was first dyeing them, the intention was, this is a sample, I want to see what looks best. So I'll try one way with the gradient going from blue into pink, into orange, into yellow, and 1 foot the other way around, yellow into orange, into pink, into blue. And then I started wearing them and I was like, it works really nicely. It's not too like, well, it's still cohesive. Even though they're like the reverse and the opposite of each other, you can wear it. And funny enough, I was wearing them to church and like people outside after were like to me like, I love your shoes. And they couldn't tell straight away that like, they couldn't even tell that they were different.
Yeah.
Because when they're next to each other and you're walking and stuff, like it kind of all just blurs together. And so I like that, like, and I would say like the whole reverse colorway flip, it's like, and the whole sample concept, like I want to give a lot of credit to like what Nigo would do with the Bapes. When he would make samples, he would make a left foot he'd make the left foot with like one color scheme, and the right, every panel would be like the reverse. And it's a cool way to sample footwear because you get to see like the one color scheme, but in 2 different ways. But because it worked, we didn't change it. The only difference between the first sample and these is they ended up being a lot more vibrant.
Yeah.
The first sample was a lot more subtle. And yeah, it's funny because even when I started the drop, if I look at the pairs that I started, because I started working on this in like July, the first 10 pairs look quite different to the last 10 pairs because over time, like you just refine certain things, or you start to prefer how, I started to prefer how like little details looked.
Yeah.
And so gradually they do change.
And then in terms of, if you can share it, I know you were spoiling secrets last time we spoke about some of the pairs you did at the Air and Colour exhibition, but in terms of the actual design process, how different does it vary in comparison to what you normally do or what you previously have done, let's say, to the 110s in comparison to the 860?
Yeah, so the 110s is a completely different process. It's actually much more labor intensive. And that's one reason why I decided to do the 860, because honestly, like after the 110 drop, I remember like just afterwards thinking, I can't do a release like this again. Like it's too much. Whereas like this shoe doesn't get submerged in water. So it's just a lot more easy to do on a large scale. And it's also a lot more easier to be consistent throughout every pair. As the 110s, it was like mentally extremely draining to do like 2-3 pairs in a row, because you really have to concentrate the whole time, and one slight error can damage the whole shoe. We had a few shoes out the 110s that were basically duds, had to give them away. Whereas with these, like the consistency was really strong. But yeah, two very different processes.
Yeah. And then obviously the market and the rollout on this one was a lot bigger than the Air and Colour one, and obviously there's a lot more added details I'm sure everyone would have seen. I think the car being the main thing. I think a lot of people, if they know you, they know that you love a Celica, but why wrap the Celica? Like what was what gave the idea to go that ham on the marketing?
So yeah, the idea around the Celica, I've always dreamed of working on a car, of putting my design language on a car, but I never really knew when the right moment would come. And once this project was in the works, I don't really know why. To be honest, I don't really know why I felt it was the right time, but like I remember looking at the shoe with the metallic parts and just it reminded me of a body of a car. And I love the Toyota Celica because, well, it's the only car I've actually ever had. Like my dad got a Toyota Celica in like 2002. He used to take me and my brothers and sisters to school in it. And then when I was like 19, I inherited his old car, which was dying. It's now dead, R.I.P. But yeah, got this. I always wanted to get like and create the most like insane Celica. So that was a whole process in itself. Like I learned so much about cars in the last 6 months. And yeah, like I felt like the color scheme and the design language on the shoe would look really cool on a car. So I started working with Eva, a graphic designer, to start mocking it up. And as soon as we started the process, like I was really confident that this would look sick. But it just ended up being like the vision I had like was executed so well by everyone who was involved, from Eva to with the graphics to Filamize who actually wrapped the car. And yeah, like I'm really happy that we actually did it because I think it was a great execution.
I think it added a really nice layer to the actual event, you pulling up in front of everything. I think where the actual space and the last time was big and the whole thing was about showcasing your work and what you've done previously. I think it was a nice way to still have something super elevated, but at the same time, sort of like not, how can I describe it? You almost didn't go too ham at the same time. There's other ways to be able to like put your color scheme and put your mark on the whole activation. But in terms of the event, how did you want this one to differ from the last one? Like, was there anything that you learned from Air and Colour that you wanted to bring into Balancing Colour to be like, right, this is what the focus is on this time?
Yeah, I think this time, like, I just wanted the focus to be on the release. And initially, I wanted there to be more pairs. I wanted there to be 200 pairs. Ended up 150. Even that was a struggle to do. So this time, I really just wanted to get pairs to the people, which is always a difficult task as well. And like I wanted it, I realized that with Air and Colour, like the beauty of it was the moment of everyone coming together for a release, because that just doesn't happen today.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to recreate and make the highlight and the sort of the focus of the day really was the bringing the community together for a drop that everyone wants to get. And creating a moment again for people to remember, because that's the whole point really, to create these like memories that like live forever really, because I know for me personally, like it was those few memories I had as a 13, 14, 15-year-old coming into London with my friends, trying to get a pair of shoes so badly that you've been waiting for months to come out, and then like that adrenaline, the joy, the disappointment, that is what really hooked me into being obsessed with sneakers, wanting to work in sneakers. It's that feeling that like changed the course of my life. And so like, I want to create those moments. I don't care about just creating a cool shoe. I don't really care about like just putting out work on Instagram if it's not tangible and if people can't partake in it. Like it's all good and well like getting reposted on blogs or celebrities wearing your work, but if the community can't interact with it, it may as well just be an NFT. It may as well not even be real. So like for me, this is the real stuff that I've always dreamt to do. And for a long time, I've always waited for brands to give me this opportunity. But in the last 2 years, I've shifted and I've realized that it is possible to do this myself with the help of all the people involved. And so yeah, that's the goal, to really make these long-lasting moments.
So to follow up from then, how does it feel like from going, how does it feel going from the consumer going to these kinds of things to them being the protagonist in creating those kinds of things? Do you think it's like a dream come true? Did you ever expect yourself to be essentially like the energy curator for activations and releases like the last two?
Nah, never. Nah, to be fair, like I don't think about it too much. I don't think about it. I try and focus on the big job at hand. If I was, that question's kind of threw me off because I actually don't really reflect on the fact that if you told me like 6 years ago when I was 18 and I was working at Shoe, if you told me like what had just happened in the last 2 years or even 3-4 years, I literally would not believe you. And like I've had so many moments in my short career where like I felt like this can't be real. Like I've always wanted this. Even when I first worked for Nike in Nike factory store in Hatfield, like having 44% off, like that was a dream come true. Like being able to like open the deliveries and see like some returned pairs that were like crazy and then being able to get them for like stupid prices and sort my friends out and like feeling like, yeah, like I can plug you this. Like I always wanted to be that guy who could like just have access to things, because growing up from 13 to 18, I was like, I could not get anything that I wanted really. Like, and I had such a strong passion for it, but I just felt like I couldn't get in. I didn't know anyone really like in the space.
Yeah.
I wasn't from London. I didn't have friends in London, didn't have connections at stores. I'd come in and out of like these sneaker moments unnoticed.
But you weren't unnoticed in the hair and colour thing, brother. There was people asking other people if they were you.
True.
Because no one knew who you were.
And see that.
And now all of a sudden everyone knows who you are now since last year as like a face.
Yeah, but even still, like I walk through Soho every week and no one knows who I am still. And I much prefer it that way. Like I don't want to be like, really and truly, I don't really want to be the protagonist. Like, I want the work to be the protagonist, and like that's what my goal is. Like, it's cool that people make me a protagonist, but like honestly speaking, I find that bit quite tough. Like I'd rather just hide and watch from afar. But like understand, like it's nice to kind of come out and celebrate with everyone.
Come out and celebrate with everyone. You was being swarmed, like you just like done a match-winning goal in the Champions League final over the weekend, bro. Everyone surrounded you. You had to have a bodyguard glued to your shoulder. You had Follow one side, you had Mickey on the other side, holding people back, signing boxes, signing cards, signing everything. It's a pretty I mean, if people don't know you, they now know you, and at least I think there's not many brands, and I was having this conversation recently, there's not many brands and there's not many creatives that don't need a logo to sell themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, the color palette is the logo, and I think that's a harder thing to achieve as a creative than
Definitely.
it is just having a brand and selling it as, you know, just whacking on a t-shirt and selling it like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think the aesthetic has become the logo, but also now, like, well, I think I used to like really feel like I want the aesthetic to be the logo, but it's gone beyond that now, because it's like, it's not even just the aesthetic, it's the drops, it's the campaigns, it's the rollouts. Like it wasn't this time around, like it wasn't just the shoes that people wanted to get into, it's everything. It's like the authenticity, and like every detail of like the drop, from the campaign videos to the imagery, is all part of like the brand.
Yeah.
And it's not even a brand, so it's like, but yeah, I think I'm confusing myself here too much, but like what I'm trying to say is like every detail is intentional.
Yeah.
And I always say like the smallest, I said this last year, like the smallest details are the biggest details. And that's in the footwear design, but it's also in the packaging, it's in the imagery, it's in the visuals, it's in the sound, it's in the space. And that's one thing I would say about sneakers today. It's like the brands, they overlook the small details. And I think as consumers, and I know you'll know this, but like as sneakerheads, we're so like...
They're meticulous, man.
Yeah, we're
like
so
if there's a glue stain somewhere, we're going to complain about it.
And we're so into like every detail that when there's just storyline pushed to us, but there's no actual like little details to fall in love with, then it just feels a bit flat. And I think we're seeing that a lot these days with like the state of sneakers and how like we've never been given so much heat in some ways, but it's just not really hitting the same because there's no new stories, there's no new details, it's just the same thing repackaged. And so that's kind of where I want to come in with a different point of view and something, trying to bring something fresh to the table for people to enjoy for the first time.
Yeah, we're talking about obviously continuing the story about like the smaller details. I think one partner I think is worth mentioning is Tony's. Now, obviously last year was a bootleg. How did it become official? Because obviously I don't think people realised last year that it was a bootleg chocolate bar, or a rewrapped one, right?
Well, it was official, but it wasn't official.
Yeah.
It was like it wasn't bootleg, but it was like, again, it was a forced collab. And that's a term that I like to coin. But like, it's like, I'm gonna collab with you.
Yeah.
And you're not even gonna know that I am until it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, last year, we utilised their tool where you can customise a chocolate bar, and we designed it to complement the release with the same dusk colour scheme as the shoes, and yeah, based on the reaction they received on socials, they were really impressed, and yeah, they wanted to tap in for when I was doing another one. And that approach of just doing something, putting it out there, creating it, not asking for permission and just doing it, and doing it in the right way with respect to their brand, is how I've actually managed to build relationships with brands.
Yeah.
Because like, I've actually always struggled with selling myself, selling ideas, communicating ideas, But what I like to do is just show people instead of trying to explain something. I'd rather just do it, and if they like it, then it's in their court. Whereas if I tried to I could name like 3 or 4 brands that I've done this with, where then they've come and now we're working together officially. But if I was to just go and pitch them something blind and they can't see any hard evidence, they can't believe it. Like people have to see something to believe it. And so it was exactly the same with Tony's. They loved it, and they were kind enough to support this time, and they'd really seen the vision on the first one, and this time we went even bigger. And I think it's cool. Like, it's really cool to be able to work with a brand like Tony's, who are, like, in my opinion, number one in the chocolate world. It's cool to move away from fashion, sneakers, and touch these other items that make sense in this context.
What's also nice though is there's a sustained partnership as well from last year coming into this year with Jason Markk. And I think the big thing is their whole emphasis on caring for products and caring for the actual longevity of a shoe, not just from a manufacturing standpoint, but like self-care in a way that doesn't harm, damage or do anything wrong, right? Like some other people might. How is it being sustained in that relationship with Jason Markk, and like why Jason Markk?
Yeah, so I mean, why Jason Markk is comes down to practicality and functionality. So like the truth is, I've got a great relationship with the brand. They've supported me throughout the last project and even previous projects before we landed that. But for the last 5 years, I've been using Jason Markk products within my work, from using the brushes to dye product, to using the foam to sort of like refine or rinse out excess dye. When it came to this shoe and I dyed it, one of the issues was, like, due to this method of dyeing the shoe is really over dyed, and because, like I said before, there's no use of water, there's no way to like rinse out excess dye safely without it completely, what's the word?
Like running?
Yeah, like without it bleeding everywhere. Because if you were to if I dyed this and then tried to rinse it straight away, everything would just bleed and it would just be it would end up being just like one colour of all of them mixed together. So once the shoe's dry, I realised like I need something to like lock the dye in. And so the first thought that came to mind was to try Repel, and that worked amazingly. And then the conversation just came naturally to look like let's try and Repel every single pair, and so the customer gets a pair that's pre-repelled, which again is like it's a bonus for functionality, and yeah, so I hit my guys at Jason Markk, I hit Jeffrey, and yeah, literally instantly it was like, let's do it, and yeah, we went from there.
I think it's a nice added touch in terms of elevating a release. Aside, like you said, it's the smaller details, right, at the same time, and even though you can't physically see Repel on a shoe, to know that your shoe already has like an extra level of care to it and an extra level of like, protection on something that people might be cautious and want to try and protect with, right? Because we live in a beautiful country that loves to rain. Right, there's some scarcity in wanting to wear nice shoes in bad weather, right? And I think it's nice for people, even if they didn't realise until they opened the box that every pair was Repelled, at least they're going away with something a little bit more, it just adds value. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's like the main, like adding value is one of the main focuses to everything that I do, and like being able to partner with Jason Markk for them to add value to the shoe, it just made a lot of sense. And it's cool, it's such a simple thing, but it's an added innovation that we haven't really seen before. Like, we've never seen, obviously you have Gore-Tex releases, but a shoe that comes pre-repelled is like, that could be the future, in many ways.
A sustainable one as well.
Do you know? Yeah, exactly. And it will definitely improve the longevity of the finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's one thing that I really like about the collaboration and the partnership I have with Jason Markk is, like if you look at what work that I do and what partnerships I have, like I do not sell anything to my followers. And this partnership is organic because I actually use it.
Yeah.
So I would be using Jason Markk Repel even if I wasn't working with them. I've been using their products even before I did this, but the products have helped me a lot in my work. And so it's literally just as simple as that. Just makes a lot of sense.
So then, partnerships aside, let's talk a little bit. I've got two kind of questions left. One is more so your reflection of like how this weekend compared to the last, and then obviously I want to talk a little bit more about like your future plans, if there's anything you're allowed to share, or just where you see this kind of activation and release thing going in the future. But yeah, let's start with the first point more than anything. Like, what's your take on everything with Balance and Colour? Are you happy with how it went? How did it differ from Air and Colour? Like, have you already started to notice like different nuances that you want to then bring into the next one in terms of learnings? Like, break that down in some details for us.
It's like definitely some mixed emotions. Like, super happy how everything went, how it was received. Like, the main thing for me is that people like the product and people leave at the end of the day with positive memories, and like people have fun, and overall like that was the outcome, and like now it being 2 days ago, like I feel a sense of relief that it's over and everything happened smoothly, because a lot can go wrong when you do these things. And despite all the success and like the positivity, there were quite a few things that I learned that I would change for next time, which again is amazing, because like I'm constantly learning, and like doing a release like this comes with a lot of challenges. Like any hyped sneaker release is difficult, and like we live in the era where like 90% of like really hype releases are just raffles. But that then comes with its like downfalls as well, because you lose those like raw moments, and like we definitely had those kind of crazy moments, but at the same time, like I would have liked more of the like real sneakerheads who wanted to buy the shoes. I wish we could have served more of them. Because one comment that I've seen a lot on social since is that a large amount of the pairs ended up on eBay, which we don't want to see. Like, obviously resellers have a big part to play, but like, yeah, I think too many resellers did manage to buy. However, saying that, like a lot of the time, like the reason why resellers do end up being successul in copying is because these guys
they hustle.
These guys would do anything, even if it's like very even if they're getting a bit too crazy and it gets a bit too heated, these guys really take it there. But yeah, next time we'll be a bit more prepared. But yeah, that's the beauty of what we do. Like, we're always learning. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. And I can say that honestly. I don't like, I very much hear what a lot of people say, and I agree with it. So that would be probably the key learning. But overall, really, really, really pleased. Really grateful it went smoothly. And to be honest, like next time, I think it's going to be a lot bigger anyway. So it will be easier to serve the community because hopefully more pairs.
Yeah. Well, then in terms of futures, like where do you see this going? Do you have anything exciting that, you know, you're not under an NDA that you can share, or is there things that people should be looking out for in terms of different, you know, creative formats that you're going to be trying to delve into? Like what can you tell us about both like future projects for you, but then also future projects in terms of where you see these kinds of activations and events going?
Yeah, for sure. I think like what's exciting for me is this year, like after this, now this like releases out the way, I've got 3 releases, collaborations that are scheduled for this year, that are all away from footwear, and that's something I've been working towards for a very, very long time. And yeah, I can't really speak on any of them because I will get in trouble very quickly. But yeah, I'm extremely excited to be able to work on different mediums and to finally have that really strong backing from brands that I love. Yeah. I'm working with 3 amazing brands, all outside the context of footwear, and I think from a consumer point of view, like we'll see like a little break from me in the sneaker space in terms of releases. But what I will say is that like the next sneaker release will be a big one. Like in total transparency, like nothing's locked in, but like the conversations that are ongoing, like it's going to be a very big one. So yeah, I'm excited, but like yeah, it's almost too early to be excited for whatever that happens to be, because
for sure.
Like you know, these things take a very, very long time, and so yeah, like we just continue to build and see whatever God has in store, really.
Well, as they say, good things come to those who wait. And obviously anyone that's been listening to this, thank you as always. I'm not going to take up this man's time too much because he's been a busy man for the whole weekend and all the following year leading up to it. But of course, it's been a pleasure, Lorenzo, as always.
Love my guy.
It's always a pleasure. Never a chore. I look forward to see what these projects are. I look forward to see where you go, and I look forward to see the longevity of Lorenzo.OG and patented colour schemes. And yeah, man, thank you again. I've been Bradley Martinez. This has been my illustrious guest, as I said, Lorenzo.OG, and thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thank you.